And if you can imagine, a week ago, I was at Unity Village, and on Sunday, Unity Village, Lee's Summit, Kansas City, and Missouri. Are we talking Chiefs or what? So I'm there at Unity Village, and it's 67 degrees. And I'm going, wow, I brought the weather with me. Came back on Wednesday, 2 inches of snow. And I thought, wow, I brought the weather with me. Because Lee's Summit and Unity Village had snow and freezing rain and snow while I was there. So I'm going to come back to that Unity Village experience in a little while. We're looking at the power of imagination, how we imagine things. And we're looking at how we can create a synthesis of the powers of love and life and imagination to bring about a better world. Hence the T-shirt. The T-shirt was from Earth Day. 2 years ago, I think that was the theme of Earth Day, which is in April. How we can imagine better, imagining a better world. So, one thing I'd like to do is to just pass around the globe, and we can all give our Earth, our globe, a little hug, a little prayer, and pass it along. So if we can go back to a time when people believed the world was flat, how could they possibly have begun to piece together what we now know, most of us know, the world is not flat? And I saw a wonderful sort of cute joke about cats kind of wish it was because then they could just knock everything off the flat world and we could all have fun picking up the pieces. So, really I'm looking at our world on a global level, how we take care and nourish our world. I'm looking at it on a personal, individual level. How do we create and imagine and make better our own personal world, and then our family world, our community world. So how do we imagine better? This is the next slide. There really was a huge shift in consciousness when we first saw this image. And this is the first photo of Earth, our home, from space. It was taken on the 24th of October 1946. From space, it was captured from a rocket, 105 kilometers, can't say that word, long distance from the Earth, above the ground. And the rocket had been launched from the Wright missile range here in New Mexico. So New Mexico gifted the Earth and the peoples of the Earth with the first image of our Earth home. And I can really sort of think that before we could see that, we had glimpses. If you've been to a beach and seen just a vast expanse of ocean, you can begin to see the curvature of the Earth. But it's totally different from this image, from space, looking at our Earth home. I'm doing a workshop at the moment with Matthew Fox, Patricia Cota-Robles, and Sister Jenna. And Matthew Fox is talking about awe and wonder and connecting that with our spirituality and being able to see life from the beauty and the mystical. And he has a good observation. He looks at people that have left the Earth in spacecraft, walked on the moon, or gone to the space station, and then come back. And a lot of them, he says, have really been changed in their whole life by that experience. He talks about James Irwin, who says, I felt in a way as Adam and Eve must have felt as they were standing on the earth and realised that they were all alone. They talk about the moon as being a very holy place. The moon was a world of no sound, no smell, no sense. Edgar Mitchell, on his way home from the moon, says, on the return trip home, gazing through 240,000 6,000 miles of space toward the stars and the planet from which I would come, I suddenly experienced the universe as intelligent, loving, harmonious. My view of our planet was a glimpse of divinity. And so Matthew Fox comments that both astronauts and cosmonauts who go into space and have these profound mystical experiences, he sat down and figured out how much it cost in dollars to send people into space to have this experience. And he said, in order to turn these former fighter pilots, jet fighter pilots, into mystics, it cost about $42 million each. And he comments that we have a better and a less expensive way of becoming mystics by connecting with awe, wonder, imagination, and the appreciation of the sacred. So this process of imagination, how could we imagine this beautiful, beautiful blue gem of our planet? How do we go beyond what we think is real? Do we have dreams, sleeping dreams or half-day dreams, altered states, meditation states, where we see images or visions of something that we don't believe we've ever seen in the physical realm? I dare admit to the fact that I have dreams where I'm going, I don't believe I've ever seen such a structure in this physical reality. So I read a book too where people, and it was believed to be fiction, but I also believe that it is true, where people would meditate in a circle with their heads towards the centre of a circle. And they'd meditate on they want a solution, and they'd all meditate together. And they'd dream together, and out of that would come new images or new ideas about solutions. So, group imagining and group meditation. I also sort of think if that story about if there was a physical elephant in the room, or a dragon, and we all had blindfolds on, and we could all touch one part, if we share all of our experiences, that sensory input, we might come and be able to put together the image of an elephant, even if we'd never seen one before. Later on, we're going to be hearing the words of John Lennon's song, Imagine. Imagining that there's no heaven, and it's easy if we try. No hell below us, and above us only sky. Imagining the people living for today. Imagining no countries. I can imagine that very well when I'm flying at 36,000 feet or 20-some thousand feet looking down. There's no border, there's no sign that says this is one country, this is the next. It's mountains, it's desert, it's lush grass and pastures. I can imagine no countries. In fact, I kind of wish I could have a global passport someday. The words, nothing to kill or die for, no religion. I think that from his background, he clearly was saying that we would enjoy a oneness spirituality, but not the dogma of religion. So we'll hear those words in a little while. So, power of imagination, it's light blue, its colour is June, because it has an energy centre. Charles Fillmore meditated, he studied Eastern and Western spirituality and religion, and he came up with energy centres, which are the faculties or the 12 powers of man, and they don't necessarily correspond to the typical chakras. But his imagination is here, which actually is in alignment with the pineal, which is faith, and you can see that centre could easily be where we could bring forth our powers of imagination. It's the ability to image, picture, conceptualize, envision and dream. And the affirmation is, I envision good unfolding in every area of my life. I'm very inspired by this book on the 12 powers and taking it to a different level. Divine audacity, daring to be the light of the world. And I've begun to sort of explore combining the powers, which is what this talk is based on. And some of her quotes express it better than I think I could. in the moment. So imagination, she talks from Philippians 4 verse 8. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honourable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And from James Dillett Freeman, who is a Unity author, and he's the author of the Prayer of Protection, which is now on the moon. Imagination is the act or power of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses, or never before wholly perceived in reality. A power that frees us from the limitations of our senses, the power of conception. And then Linda Martella Whitsett takes this a little bit further and says, nothing has ever materialised that has not first been imagined. Our visioning capacity is the first and most important aspect of creation. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a French writer and pioneering aviator, said, if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the wood, give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. And she goes on to say, in metaphysical understanding, creation occurs by the union of head and heart. What can be when we hold a potent idea in mind, develop it by imagining it fleshed out into manifestation, and feel the thrill of fulfillment while incubating the idea in mind. So back to Kansas City, Missouri, last Sunday. I am not a football person. I'm not an American football person. British soccer, I understand a little bit better, but American football, However, when in Rome, when in Kansas City, support the Chiefs. And I attended the church service at Unity Village Chapel, and it was just a sea of everyone wearing red. And it was a great service, and at the end of the service, as we do here, there was the power of protection, the peace song, and then an extra prayer, holding the whole football game, people, everyone, in safety, in joy, in love, and acknowledging, hoping that it is a wonderful, uplifting game. And then the prayer for the Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
The 49ers must not have had that. That's why they didn't win.
Exactly. So, I believe our unity principles, and I believe in oneness, that we are one, all one. However, when you watch the Super Bowl, the illusion of reality is we are definitely not one. We are duality. We are 49ers and Chiefs, and people cheering respectively for 49ers and Chiefs. And yet I know that God is good and God is one, and we are all one with God. So this philosophy of, prayers to God, everyone must be praying whichever side that their team will win. However, the Chiefs had Unity Chapel Village praying for them. And I was thinking about this imagination. I admit that I watched the first quarter and the fourth quarter and the halftime thing. And in between it, I did a bit of PBS on the side and watched a little bit of a mystery. So in the first quarter, I was okay. By the fourth quarter, that 10-20 gap, I was depressed. I mean, I'm not a football person, and I thought, how on earth can they come back from this? So I went down in the Unity Hotel, got myself a hot drink, and said to the guy who was glued to the the television screen, I said, is there hope? Can the Chiefs still do it? He said, absolutely. He was the keeper of the faith. He was holding that image. And everyone I saw who was wearing Chiefs t-shirts and hats and everything, they were already seeing it as if it was done. The t-shirts were saying champions. The champions of 2020 Super Bowl. So I went back to my room and I thought, okay, I'm depressed, I don't see it happening. What if my power of imagination doesn't add to this whole group imagination and see the Chiefs winning? What if my imagination is leading me into depression, it can't be done? I thought, heck, I don't want that responsibility. So I thought, okay, imagine. And, again, I could not have easily come to that without the keeper of the faith saying it still can happen, fourth quarter, and you remember how much they were down by, and then 3 touchdowns, whatever, and they win. So I was just looking at this on a global level. Even when things look impossible, even when they look really tough, many aspects of the world, the earth physically, don't look in fantastic shape from my perspective. And questions of equity, equality, questions of peace, peace in world leaders, peace in politics. Sometimes it could be easy to go down the path of saying, like with the Chiefs, how can we get it done? How can we make this better? But then I go back to this power of imagination, and it might be a goofy example, but me switching all of my energy into imagining the Chiefs winning felt like something. It felt like I'd made a choice within me. So again, I'm sort of comparing that to personal things that we might want to see in our life. Imagining better in our family situation, imagining better here. What are the things that we really want to put our energy towards? So the power of love. Imagination, we might have this image. It then needs feeding. It can be fed by the power of love. When we infuse our images and our best dreams with love, we're feeding them. We're feeding with the energy of the universe, the divine. So the power of love is pink. Its month is April. It's at the back of the heart. And it's the ability to attract, unify and desire. And its affirmation is, I'm a radiating center of love. At the moment I'm imagining the page I would like to see and read from coming back into focus. And here it is. So from John 4 verse 16. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. And from Charles Fillmore, Jesus Christ heals. God does not love anybody or anything. God is the love of everything and everybody. God is love. Man becomes loving by permitting that which God is to find expression in word and act. So we're coming up to Valentine's Day. Who could miss it in all the stores, all of the hearts, all of the cards, all of the candies? Oh my. And then it kind of brings up, yes, the topic of love, which is really good to connect with, but it can often bring up that kind of illusion that love is found in just one person or one job. It can be focused on the object. And there's a good passage written by Fromm and quoted by Linda Martella-Whitsett. Love is not primarily a relationship to a specific person. It is an attitude, an orientation of character that determines the relatedness of a person to the world as a whole, not toward one object of love. Yet most people believe that love is constituted by the object, not by the faculty. In fact, they believe that it's even proof of their intensity of their love, that when they love someone, they do not love anyone else, and put all of their love into one person. Because one does not see that love is an activity, a power of the soul, one believes that all that is necessary is to find the right object and that everything goes by itself afterward. This attribute can be compared to that of a man who wants to paint, but who, instead of learning the art, claims that he just wants to find the right object and that he will paint beautifully when he finds it. So love is a power. Love is a spiritual quality of God. Love is. Love is principle. Love is. And then with our imagine better, our new future, our new aspect coming into our life, we're feeding it with love. What happens is we then combine it with the power of life. We breathe into it and give it life. So the 12 powers, power of life is red. Its month is December. It's the generative organs in the body is where the energy centre is. And it's the ability to energize, vitalize, enliven, animate, and invigorate. Its affirmation is, I am filled with life, sweet life. From Genesis 2 verse 7, then the Lord formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Man, woman, humankind. And then also from Charles Fillmore, the first step in the realization of life is always to know that God is life, abundant, omnipresent, eternal. And the second step is to make positive connection with God life by declaring oneness with it. And that's also unity's first principle. God is. Second principle, I am. So claiming that union with God. And that's Charles Fillmore, keeping a true Lent. So I'm playing. What happens when you combine the colours of pink for love, blue for imagination, red for life? I figure you kind of come up with a purple colour. So I'm looking at the synthesis of combining these ideas, these powers, into a theory or system, and then the synergy, which is the interaction or cooperation of two or more organisations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. So if we're looking at synergy and synthesis with the 12 powers, and if we get purple, other people come up with purple as a synthesis of powers. Patricia Cota-Robles, who's consciousness evolutionary and shares many messages. She says blue is the colour of Father God, divine will, power and authority. Pink is the Mother God, divine love, adoration and reverence for life. And purple is the combination of the Father and Mother God, and it's the colour that's going to assist humanity greatly in our healing and transformation at this time. She talks about the violet flame as being a perfect balance of our Father God's blue flame of divine will and the Mother God's pink flame, divine love. And then she talks about a cycle of the Aquarian age where the violet flame brings happiness, expressions of love, abundance, health, fulfillment, and every other facet of divine potential is made manifest. If we combine the affirmations of these three powers, we get I envision good unfolding in every area of my life. I am a radiating centre of love. I am filled with light, sweet life. And when we have this synthesis and synergy, we envision, we radiate love, and we are full of life. And we bring this to our personal lives, our dreams. We bring this to our humanity. We bring this to the earth and all of her creatures. We bring this to our present and hence our future. And the way we really do this We imagine in the more ethereal realms, but then we do unity principle number 5, which is through our thoughts, words and actions, we live the truth we know. So we go out, we live it. Linda Martellowitz said in her book, talks about embodiment as part of imagination. And she says, imagination is perhaps the greatest tool for us to assume and claim our divine identity. The future we have been envisioning demands one thing of us, that we be the person who can live in that desired future. The counterpart to manifestation of an idea is embodiment, or being a living expression of the qualities required for the idea to become reality. Embodiment is the pinnacle of creation. And when we sing our peace song at the end of our service, we're singing every step I take, making this joyous vow to take each moment, live each moment in peace eternally. We're bringing our group imagination to bringing about peace on earth, and we're also owning the fact that let me be the peace. Let me be the peace that can live fully in a world of peace. Had to bring John Lennon in, giving peace a chance. So next, I'd like to just take us into a meditation on imagination, and it is from Linda Martellowitz. I'm just going to pause for a brief silence between different paragraphs. I want you to prepare for meditation. Feeling your feet on the ground and focusing on your breath. Taking a few deep breaths. Feeling the air within your lungs. Feeling the air, which is the breath of life. And then following the words, I breathe into the center of my brain, between my ears and eyes. I flood my brain with light, the color of the midday cloudless sky, the palette of spiritual imagination. Every breath I take and every breath I release leaves me floating in the open sky of possibilities. Nothing can weigh me down. Nothing can inhibit the free expression of my divine imagination. Soaring in infinite space, all things are possible. Divine imagination is my spiritual nature and true nature. I am a creator by divine design. I reach beyond assumptions and limitations, dreaming of magnificent possibilities. By the power of conception, I catch a marvelous idea of what I can be, what I can do, and what I can experience. I can tell that this idea is mine to express by its captivating appeal. I recognize in this idea the possibility of fulfillment that I have longed for. the marvellous idea I have grasped fleshes out as a vision and a purpose. Like a seed planted in the ground and watered, this idea is nurtured by my power of vision. I envision the fully formed blossom now, while this seed remains in the deep womb of possibilities. I am the spiritual power of imagination, claiming my divine identity. I call forth from within me my rightful divine capacities, pouring them out in fulfillment of my purpose. I have eyes to see the good within me. I have eyes to see the good around me. I have eyes to see the good path ahead of me. Whatever seems impossible, by my power of imagination, I declare all things are possible. All things are possible. And in and with God, all things are possible. As you bring your awareness back to the room, back to the sounds of the music, and we will stay in this meditative state as we invite Max to come and lead us in our special music. Thank you.